Hey everyone, welcome to an NFL video. In this one we are going to build more of a GPP lineup together. GPP lineups tend to have correlations and stacks. It's riskier than cash game lineups, but when it hits big, and then you feel very good about yourself because you are going to have a nice payday. So that's like saying if we want to use Patrick Mahomes, we're going to pair him up with Sammy Watkins, maybe throw a Hardman on there, Travis Kelce, run it back with some Raiders, which is kind of what we're going to do in this video. In cash games, we do not want to full stack teams and a ton of correlations plays, because if one thing goes wrong, your lineup is dead, and then you're going to feel bad all Sunday because you took unnecessary risks in cash games. Cash games, you want to take a safe approach. Maybe you want to pair up a wide receiver with this quarterback, but that's pretty much about it for cash games. But in this one, we're going GPPs, more risky, but better payoff. Anyway, before we continue though, if you could leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It really helps me out, and I really appreciate it. I will be here all NFL season long. I love the NFL. I love making these videos. Hope you guys enjoy watching them. And if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, at ChrisPennell16. And if you guys would like access to my entire NFL spreadsheet that I show on every single other video I make, it's available in the link in the description below. I do extra content on there. Got projections, wide receiver versus cornerback data. It's color-coded, Vegas data, projected ownership, rankings, cash game rankings, all of that available in the link in the description below. All right, anyway, let's get into this lineup build. So first guy I want to know, you see if I can readjust this a little bit. I'm a little too zoomed in, but I guess we'll live with that. It shouldn't bother you guys. So we're going to make this pretty much a little bit of a Chiefs stack, Chiefs-Raiders stack. So Patrick Mahomes at 7,500. I love Mahomes this week. I know he's very expensive, but he's the top play quarterback for me. And he comes in with a high price tag, I know that, but still he's the best quarterback in the league on the best offense in the league. I know they lost Tyreek Hill, and it's an obvious downgrade, but they were just fine without him as they dropped 40 points on one of the league's better secondaries. They got A.J. Boye, Jalen Ramsey. He dropped nearly 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, so he should be just fine, especially versus the Raiders, who were 32nd DVOA versus the pass last season. And I do not know if they're going to have Gary and Conley, and if they don't, that's another downgrade for this defense. I know the Raiders' defense looked really stiff last week, but emotions were high with the AB drama in the home opener of a primetime game. And, teams tend to fizzle off after a high emotional win. So next week they tend to fizzle a little bit because it's hard to replicate all that high emotions you had. And they were also playing a Joe Flacco-led offense, and Joe Flacco tends to make the opposing defense look like a pretty solid defense. And I think we are in for a beatdown by Mahomes and the Chiefs in this one. So I definitely like Patrick Mahomes. They have 30 implied point total over under 52. It's on my sheet. I don't have it set up though, so I don't know exactly, but I'm pretty sure that is correct. Love Patrick Mahomes. His ceiling is like no other quarterback in the league. I guess I shouldn't say that. Lamar Jackson's ceiling is pretty high, as we saw versus Miami, but it's versus Miami. So, and then the next guy I want to use is Alvin Kamara. If you guys have watched my other videos, you guys know I love Kamara this week. I love this game for fantasy. He's 1,000 cheaper than Barkley, and he's got just as high a ceiling as him. And honestly, I just hate the Giants' offense. I know Evan Ingram's good, and obviously Saquon Barkley is, but I just think there's more opportunities to score here for Kamara. He's in a high-flying offense. He's not like a true bell cow where he's in 100% of the time. They use Latavius Murray, but Kamara does not need to be a bell cow back to be the best running back in football. He is highly efficient in his role. He's one of the best players in the league per touch in the running back position. He's great. He's a great running back. He's one of my favorite running backs in the entire league, if not the favorite. Just from standpoint of watching him play, he looks awesome. He's got extremely good balance. It's just fun to watch him play. And like I said, this game's going to be awesome for fantasy purposes. It has the highest Vegas total on the entire slate, and the Saints actually come in at 3-point dogs. That's good for Kamara. Game script should be perfect for him because we all know he's an elite pass catcher, and he should get plenty of targets the way this game should go. The Rams really struggled with running backs last season, as they were 27th DVOA, and struggled with the receiving backs. And obviously we know Kamara, that's his role. And if you remember last week, CMC crushed the Rams defense as he went for 19 carries, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground, and caught 10 balls for 81 yards through the air. That's insane. Kamara is a pretty similar back to CMC in terms of their skill set, and Kamara should be able to feast versus the Rams, who gave up 52 Draftkings points last week to the Panthers running back group, which is pretty much Christian McCaffrey besides a Arma fullback dive, whatever. So I definitely like Alvin Kamara. He's got that GPP ceiling we love, and he's a safe play. Anyway, I'd play him in cash. His receiving game makes him extremely safe, and he can score touchdowns. He's very good on the goal line. The next guy I want to throw in is, I should say, Latavius Murray. I guess he's a little bit of a concern, but Kamara will be fine. I would not worry about it. like I said, he does not need a 100% snap count to pay off. Then next guy, we have to go way down here, but he's a tremendous value. It's Josh Jacobs at 4,700. Now, I do think the Chiefs get up early, which may be a little bit of a concern, but Josh Jacobs looks good, and it would be a darn shame if they don't use him in the passing game more. I know his one reception he got, he looked good. He's honestly the lock of the week in cash games, GPPs. I mean, he's still fine. He's going to get about 20 touches, and the pricing came out before his impressive debate in week 1, and now we get him at an excellent value versus last year's league worst run D. We all liked Leonard Fournette last week, even though we thought the Jags would be down. I don't see why we don't like Jacobs. He's only 4,700. Fournette was 6,100. So I know Fournette's more. I mean, he's a capable pass catcher. I mean, not the best pass catcher in the world, but Jacobs can catch the ball too. Hopefully, they get him more involved in the passing game this time. And like I said, yeah, the Chiefs were 32nd DVOA, and he's a true workhorse and a 3-down back at this price. I don't see how we can pass that up. And if I like this game stack, because I think the Raiders might be able to hang. I mean, they didn't look too bad. Derek Carr didn't look bad, so hopefully, if they can stay in this game, this is going to be a great game for fantasy purposes. But like I said, I'm a little bit worried about the potential game script, but I expect him to get a ton of volume. So definitely like Josh Jacobs. Then the next guy I want to plug in my lineup is another Raider. I don't feel great about having so many Raiders this week, and honestly feel like putting 3 of them in cash games isn't the worst idea. It goes against my rule, but they're just so cheap and they're in a good spot. It's a tough decision this week. But GPPs, we can load all of them up because we want the correlation plays. So we have Tyrell Williams at 4,400, and he is just way too cheap. It's almost too easy this week because, like I said, the pricing came out after he had that outstanding performance as the new number 1 receiver for the Raiders. And I don't mean Draftkings as a whole is too easy this week. It's just the pricing of Tyrell Williams. I mean, he's basically a lock at this point. He's not a bad receiver at all. He's, honestly pretty darn good. And I think next week he's priced near or at 6K. Next time this week, so hop on board before we have to back off at his future price tag. With AB gone, this left Williams in a prime spot as Derek Carr's top target. And let me tell you, Derek Carr looked pretty good last week. He completed over 80% of his passes, looked pretty sharp. And this game script should be positive for Williams as they face off versus the Chiefs, who will definitely put up the points, and they are going to have to stay afloat in this game if they want to. They're going to have to get Jacobs and Williams involved if they want to hang in this game for long. So definitely like Williams. He is the top play receiver this week, just based off of price and matchup. The next guy I like is Michael Thomas, and I was surprised I was actually able to fit him in this lineup because we have another good receiver coming up, which you guys will definitely like. But let's talk about Michael Thomas. He's 8K, and if you've read my other content, you guys know I love this game for fantasy, and I want to get as much exposure to it as possible. I know it's never great using the same running back and receiver in the same lineup, and we did that twice. But again, it's just the way these games are going to go, and the value for Josh Jacobs is insane. And Michael Thomas and Kamara pretty much feast every single game, so I'm not really too worried about playing a running back and receiver there because Kamara is basically a half of a receiver anyway. Yeah, I love this game. He's the clear number 1 target in this offense, and he should see a ton of volume with the Saints actually being 3-point dogs in this game, so they shouldn't be in a position to take their foots off the gas, because that's the concern with the Saints sometimes, because sometimes they can get to a lead and they just run the ball, but I do not see that happening in this game. Thomas has also crushed the Rams defense in his 3 career games versus them, as he has a stat line of 26 catches, 371 yards, and 3 touchdowns. In one of the games, he went absolutely nuts. I believe I played him that week in DFS. That was a very fun week. He burned Marcus Peters for a long touchdown. And speaking of Marcus Peters, he should see him again, and that's a matchup he can win in, and he's won it before. Then the next guy, it's our correlation play with Patrick Mahomes. It's Sammy Watkins, 7,200. I'm very excited to get him in this lineup. So he's not going to get 200 yards and 3 touchdowns every week, but if he does it again, I definitely have no problems with that. But he's the number 1 with Hill being gone for, 6 weeks, maybe even longer. He's number 1 for the best quarterback in football in an elite tier offense. And by the way, he did all of that work versus the Jacksonville Jaguars last week, which is known for their secondary. AJ Boye, Jalen Rams, and he looked really good after the catch. Dude made some really nice moves. Now he gets to face last year's 32nd DVOA pass D, possibly without Gary Conley. I think I saw a video that he said he's going to play, but he's day-to-day, so players always want to play, so we'll have to see if he's allowed to. But sounds like another good day is in order for Sammy Watkins. We all know Sammy has talent, and his problem has just been staying on the field for long stretches. But it's early in the season. He looks pretty darn good. And feel free to fire him up as your wide receiver 1 this week. But he's actually our wide receiver 2 in this lineup, and I do like that. Then let's move on to the tight end position. Unfortunately, I'd love to fit in Kelsey here. It's just not doable. I tried. It would come at the expense of Michael Thomas, and maybe we can play around with it after we make this lineup. We'll see if we can. We'll see what we can do after we make this lineup and see if we can fit Kelsey. And we'll have to drop probably Michael Thomas, but we'll see what happens. But we're going to go with Darren Waller, and honestly, it's not a bad correlation play either because it's like running it back. So we like the Chiefs, so we're gonna run it back with some Raiders because if the Raiders can score points and the Chiefs score points, it's gonna be back and forth, and that's going to be great for fantasy. Let's talk about Mr. Too Cheap, Darren Waller at 3,300. Just too cheap. I don't even mind playing Kelsey at tight end and Waller at flex if you can do that in certain lineups. In this one, we cannot. But KC struggles with tight ends, and Waller's extremely athletically gifted guy who should be very productive in this offense. Oakland should trail in this game, making it a pass-heavy approach, which should work out well for Waller and Williams. Maybe not the best for Jacobs, but he's just too cheap. If he gets in the end zone once, we'll be very happy. And Darren Waller, he played all the snaps in that game, so there's no issue with worrying about his usage. He is going to be on the football field, and that's all we need him to do. At 3,300, he's way too cheap. He's going to only get more expensive from here. Then at the flex position, we have Chris Thompson at 3,900, if I can find him. So guy right above him, Darius Geis, he is not going to be playing, and that's an obvious boost for Chris Thompson. He's going to get some extra work, and he's great for sites like Draftkings that are PPR scoring because that's what he does. He catches passes. He had 10 targets last week, and you should expect more of the same as they should be trailing versus Dallas. He does not need to do a lot to hit value here, even if he doesn't score, whatever. If he can get us, 6 catches, 50, 60 yards on the air, I'll be happy with that, and I think there's definitely room for more. And then defense, that leaves us with 2,800, and that's going to leave us with the Texans, who actually I think is going to be the highest on defense this week, but I will eat that chalk on this lineup. They're going to go up against Gardner Minshew. And, he looked fine last week, but I don't see him replicating that again. Texans have a better defense than the Chiefs. That's not saying much. Texans don't have the best defense in the world. They got J.J. Watt, but I think that's a pretty good lineup construction there. I like all the plays. I was surprised we got Sammy Watkins in there, Patrick Mahomes, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. It's pretty star-studded lineups, and if the value guys can hit, this lineup's going to score a lot of points. There's a lot of value guys in here with Chris Thompson, Terrell Williams, and Josh Jacobs, but they're in great spots, and they're all mispriced in my opinion. So this lineup it's more of a stars and scrubs lineup, but I think it can hit big if the correlations work out, and I think they will. All right, anyway, I wanted to try out getting Travis Kelce in our lineup, so I know we're going to have to get rid of Michael Thomas. I don't want to get rid of Sammy Watkins on this lineup either. So let's try to put in Kelce. That leaves us 4K to work with. I don't know. Let's see. Well, we can go with McLaurin, who was a hot waiver wire ad this week. I guess you could throw him in, and then you also have Chris Thompson, because if you think the Redskins are trailing in this game, they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. So I guess that makes sense. I kind of like the other build better, but Kelce has obviously got a huge ceiling, more than Waller does. I know no disrespect to Waller, he's a great player, but Travis Kelce's ceiling is insane, and it's a better correlation with Patrick Mahomes. So honestly, I don't mind this lineup either. I think McLaurin, he played a lot of snaps that game, so he's going to be on the field. He's got upside, so honestly, don't mind this build either. So either one looks pretty good. Now, these are not guaranteed lineups I'm going to play. I kind of built these pretty quick, then wrote some notes about it and read them off to you. But if this video was helpful for you guys, remember to leave a like. If you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button. It really helps me out. Check out my extra content on Patreon if you are interested. It's pretty darn cheap. And you also have a Slack chat where you can ask me all the questions you want. I will see you guys in the next video, and I wish you guys the best of luck in any DFS sport you're playing right now, like MLB or something. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video.